Hey, welcome to Keight's Krafts. I'm Keight. Today I would like to share with you a fun anniversary card I made for my better half using the Sizzix Lunar die, Lawn Fawn stamps, and some Distress Oxides. Let's get started. Inking up some images from the Lawn Fawn's Crazy Antics stamp set, I'm using Ink on 3's Blackout ink because I will be doing a little bit of Copic Coloring today. Now, I don't end up using both of the picnic blankets, and I'll end up saving one for later. Here I have the Sizzix Lunar Mask die, as well as the rectangle die from Mama Elephant's Mod Heart set. And I've also gone ahead and cut out a couple of those panels with the rectangle die, and I've also used Lawn Fawn's Hillside stitched border die to create a little hill for my mice to sit on. So what I've done here was I've created a stencil with the Lunar Mask die, and I will take my solid panels that I cut out and I will be ink blending on them. I did this in my previous video and liked the idea so much that I thought I would create a cheese card. Yes, you heard me right, a cheese card, because I have not done a food-related card yet. So if you'd like to see where I drew my inspiration from in my previous video, I will be sure to link the video in the description box below where I use the same stencil for as the title entails, and I created a lunar scene. So here again with the stitched die from the Mod Heart Mama Elephant set, you want to be sure to line everything up as it's not uniform all the way around. Once I'm satisfied with that, I will pull out some spiced marmalade, load up my Tailored Expression blending brush, and I will go heavy-handed at the bottom, and I will bring that up lighter to the top, just to create a little bit of depth on the two panels. Oh, and as a rule of thumb, I probably should always use my Make Art Station when I'm ink blending or doing anything of great mess, because I tend to go all willy-nilly and kind of get ink everywhere. And this keeps my other mat clean. So once I'm happy with the blend, I will pull everything apart, and you can see where I've ink blended on that. Now, I suppose I didn't really need to do that the way I did it. I probably could have done them individually, but you know, it is what it is. It's how I did it in the last video, and kind of how I did it here. And what I'm doing now is I've got some spiced marmalade that I've put on my stamping block, added a little bit of water, saturated my paintbrush, and I'm just tapping that off my finger to get little tiny splatters of the spiced marmalade. I will also take the same method and do it on the foreground and the background of my panel. Now you won't see too much of it on the background because most of it will be covered, but some of it will peek through the little holes, which will be cute. So here I'm taking a little bit of Rusty Hinge as a contrasting orange, which you don't end up seeing too much of a difference, but it is a little bit darker, and I don't know, I thought it was a nice little touch, more true to an orange cheese than the yellow cheese that I have going on here. Although Swiss is more of a pale yellow, but given the fact that it's cheese and I've gotten my cheeses mixed up, oh well. Starting off my Copic coloring, I am using a cool gray C5 to create shadow on the little mice. I think this is probably my favorite gray to color in the little mice, as it's a cool gray. I mean, the warm gray are cute too, but I'm part and partial to the cool gray colors. So here I'm using the C3 to kind of blend that out, and then I'll go in with the C1 to even all the color out and show a little more dimension with it. Now, the whole reasoning behind this card, aside from the obvious of it being cheese and mice, and I really like the die that I used in this that I recently got, is because, well, this is actually an anniversary card for my partner. He and I have been together for 10 years, and we thought it would be fun to take our vacation time and go camping for our 10-year anniversary. And I thought it would be kind of cute if I took two mice sharing a piece of cheese who are maybe celebrating their anniversary on a camping trip in a forest of cheese. We won't be going to a forest of cheese, mind you, but we will be going to see a bunch of trees, and it'll be nice and quiet. So anyway, here I have some Y38 and Y35 for the cheese, just to kind of give it a little bit of dimension, which it's a very small image, which you don't really need to put two colors, but I did anyway. And here I have the basket, and I believe this is the first time I've actually used this stamp set, so I really wasn't quite sure how I was going to color the basket, so I kind of was just winging it. I think it turned out alright. You got the point across with the light and the darks and whatnot, so that that darker color was an E29 that I used, and now I'm going with an E25 to blend out the E29 so it's not such a harsh line. And then once I'm done all that, I will go in with the E23 to blend everything out. Now, once the alcohol sets, it doesn't look as messy as I let it be. I don't know. It was kind of a struggle for me to do this one, so I tried my best to not make it look so messy. Now, when I cut out the little picnic blanket, I hadn't realized that I kind of cut it wrong. And I was a little disappointed, but at the same time, you know, happy mistakes, right? You just kind of got to go with them. So here I'm taking a B15 and I will just color in the squares. I'm not doing anything particular about it because the mice will cover up the majority of it. And then for the lighter squares here, I'm using the BG11. And I don't know, I kind of liked this color with the yellow. I thought it looked rather nice. So since I cut it wrong, I'm just going to take my little Cricut scissors here and cut along the edges. And it won't exactly match the border with the mice and everything else, but, you know, I don't think he'll notice, you know? He's a dude. He won't notice that little bit. But unless he watches the video, then he'll notice. Anyway, so here I'm just taking some glue and putting it along the back side of my main middle panel here. And I'm just going around the holes, making sure I get all the spots so that way I could adhere everything down properly. Now, this one I can't quickly use tape on because there's so many holes in it, but I don't know, liquid glue does it right. So making sure again that I get this lined up properly with the ridges and the holes, because let's face it, that could totally make or break the card. I'm going to mash everything down and make sure everything's lined up and set that aside. And I'm going to put some bricks on it so I can come back to it in a minute. So once I am done that, I will take some tape runner, because I can tape runner this one on top of everything. And I figured the tape runner might help once I put a new one in, to adhering down the bits that are a little sunken in. Now, I didn't save any of the little holes to kind of even everything out. I didn't really think I needed to, so I just doubled up with the adhesive using the tape runner and a little bit of glue, and I'll remove the blocks and I'll line everything up. And once I'm happy with that, I will mash everything down. And you can see here how everything pretty much lines up almost perfectly. There's a little bit that you kind of can see, but I end up covering that up later. So now to build my scene. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with it because I was using like minimal images, so I was able to tuck that behind the hill of cheese in the cheese background, so it looks like it's a little bit farther away. And then I'll set my mice up on the little picnic blanket here, and you can kind of see how the scene's coming together. And I thought that was kind of cute, you know, two little mice sharing a piece of cheese. This is so silly. So I'm just going to take a little bit of tape runner and tape the bottom bits of the mice together. And I'm going to try and figure out how far I need to have them apart in order to create enough space for them to hand off the cheese to one another, or share the cheese, if you will. So I'm just taking a little bit of adhesive to tape them to the little picnic blanket here. Careful to make sure that I have enough space for the cheese. And once I'm happy with that, I will add a little bit more tape runner to the base of it, and the little mice, and a little bit of glue, because I want to make sure that this stays together for a while in case he decides to save the card, because, I don't know, sometimes he saves my cards, sometimes I don't know where they go to. it doesn't matter. It's the thought that counts, right? It's a homemade card. And I don't know, I like making homemade cards for people because I like to share the joy they bring me. You know, making cards makes me happy, and if I can make somebody else happy by giving them one of my happy cards, then so be it. So here I'm just figuring out the placement for them to share the cheese, and once I'm happy with that, I'll lay that down. And because I didn't quite care for the edges, I'm taking what's left on my blender brush. I think that might have been, I think the last one I used was spiced marmalade, I think it was. So I'm just going around the edges here of the cheese and, you know, giving it a little bit dimension because, you know, sometimes cheese is cheese and it's a little darker around the edges. And I didn't really care for the spiced marmalade, so I kind of went in with a little bit of the rusty Hinge. So I've taken another blender brush because it's a darker yellow, and I'm just going around the edges. And it looks a little dark now, but it ends up lightening up a little bit better once the ink is settled, and it doesn't look so dark, but you still get the dark effect of it. So I thought that kind of looked nice. I think in the future I probably would have done this first so I can darken up the hill that I did, but yeah, it is what it is. You get the point, and it's a cute little card, you know. So once I'm happy with that, I will take the I think your flag sentiment that I cut out and stamped off camera, and I will add some tape, double-sided tape to this because I want this to stick well because there's a lot of little ridges in it and I wasn't sure how tape runner would go, and this is probably a little bit stronger than the tape runner I have. So what I'll do here is I'll take my T-square ruler and try to line this up as best as you can to get it centered. So that way when you look at the card, it says, I think you're, and you'll see in a bit here what it says in the middle, or in the center of it, if you will. I think it's kind of silly, and it basically represents my relationship with my boyfriend. So once I've got that, I think you're pressed down, I'll use my T-square ruler, then I'll use a stamping block, and then I will adhere it to a card panel. So I'll just take some foam tape, that way it's propped up off the card. I will add a little bit of glue once the back release paper is taken off, and I will hold it by the corners and stand up and line that up the best that I can, press it down, and there you have it. My happy anniversary card for my 10-year anniversary. I think he's going to like it, because quite frankly, he is the cheesiest, and that's what I love about him. So if you've enjoyed today's content or found it helpful, please give this video a like. I also welcome you to subscribe, as I post weekly. Here's another video I think you might enjoy. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care.